Hey, welcome to the Natural Balance Masterclass. Natural Balance is a virtual ceremony, and it also has physical ceremonies. So, right now, this is the virtual aspect of Natural Balance. And my name is Neil, and Neil is my name, but Neil's not who I am. When people say Neil, I answer, but Neil isn't who I am. Who I am is, all that was, and all that ever will be. I am a child of God the Father, and I am here on earth as an expression of divine, um, submitted to God the Father, and then expressing God's will through Neil here on earth. And I speculate that we, the collective humanity, are all here to express God's divine will here on earth. And the will is the same, which is like peace and love and connection, and how that shows up is different for each person, and that difference is your gift, and that gift is natural balance. And natural balance is what happens when you stop doing and you start being, and then from your being you listen, and then from your listening you take an action after you've actually received, and that is natural balance. And how that's going to show up is going to depend on your upbringing. It's going to depend on your environment. It's going to depend on literally God's will for your life and God. So take Neil, for example. My expression of natural balance is unique in how God intended it for it to be coming through Neil. And it is unique in the way that it it doesn't matter how it comes through. What matters is that I'm open and allowing for expression to happen. And when we're listening, there's an element of listening of where are we listening from, and then also what are we listening to. So where we're listening from, see, we can listen from the ego. And if I am listening from the ego, then I'm probably in my head, and there's like contemplation going on of what's been said, and there's processing of past events, and then there's processing in the present to determine how the future is going to look. And that would be listening like from the ego, from being in the mind and really like figuring things out. And that kind of a listening, when you take an action from that, it produces a fruit of control and manipulation and individualization. And so when you now on the other side of the coin, when you listen from divine, from love, from source, from I am in you coming through you, when you're listening to that, there's like very little thoughts going on in the head. The head region is mostly peaceful. Like there may be thoughts like that flow through, but the thoughts that flow through are it's an observation of those thoughts, and it's a detachment from them, and it's acknowledging, it's from the listening from divine and listening to love. It's an acknowledgement of when divine is coming through, that I can observe these thoughts, but I'm now, because of where I'm listening from a divine place, then I don't need to be attached to these thoughts, and I can be completely unattached to the thoughts, which has capacity to, then I can like be in my heart and I can express, and I can use my brain, but I don't need to be all caught up in it. And when I do this, when I actually don't get caught up in my brain, and when I actually be in my heart and then express my heart as is being called for in the moment, what happens is that, like, I feel really free doing it. One thing. And the second thing is that because I feel free inside when this expression happens, people listening feel the freedom I'm feeling inside in them through the expression that's coming through this body. And so freedom is a direct fruit of letting go of resistance. And resistance to what? Well, anything. Anything you've got resistance to. I'm gonna like distinguish the ego. So these are really common things that we may be resistant to. An opinion, that's number one. Number two is a perception. Um, I've resisted the fuck out of perceptions, like to the point where I'll like literally disregard a perception because of being unwilling to even receive it as because yeah, it was the unwillingness to receive it, which was why I was resisting it. And so perception, um that's the second one, and my truth is the third one, and then the fourth one is an expectation. So those are some common things we resist, and perceptions often look like my truths. So a perception, like when I even get a whiff of an energy of my truth, I'm like very, first of all, I don't even necessarily want to hear it. And then second of all, if I do hear it, I'm like already half of it's like disregarded. Um and that's an ongoing process. It's complete, but it's not finished. It's still continuing to be dialed in, of when to listen and when to actually relocate to an entirely new environment, to listen to birds chirping, to listen to crickets chirping, uh, to not have somebody unload their garbage, but to actually be receiving divine through birds, through nature, through the sound of water. And how I navigate this is checking in with love, and then checking in with my purpose, and then checking in with my commitments, and really asking myself, is what I'm listening to, is this food that I'm eating? Because whatever I'm listening to, I'm ingesting, and it's becoming part of who I am if I allow it. And if I resist it, I'll probably become it, or I'll keep seeing more of it. And if I accept it, I can play it out, whatever the thing is. And if I receive it, if I listen and I don't resist it and I let it go, then that's an alchemization of clarity and of peace and of having listened but not taking it on. So like not having it become my perception, and then letting it go in memory, even so I don't even remember it now at this point, because I'm so unresistant to it that I let it go after I've listened to it. And then there's like a clarity there that is so open that there can be there's no any kind of evens of flavoring of the color, let's say green, or evens of flavoring of, let's say, the color red. And why am I using colors? Well, I'm using colors because these perceptions are things that can come and they can color our lens, And when we don't resist it and we listen, and then we let it go immediately from Even's memory completely, the red lens will be on potentially while the person's communicating, and then the moment they're done, it's gone, and the lens of white, the truth lens, that's the lens that you were looking at before the red lens or before the orange lens, or and then once the person has completed the conversation, the white lens was there the whole time, but for a minute it was covered with a red lens. And we choose what we focus on. Am I gonna now keep this red lens perception on, or am I gonna just let it go, release it, and remember the truth of my true self, which is the I am coming through this body? All right. I'm gonna pause. Would you like to put anything into the space in that?
I'm just gonna let it come through. I'm distracted a little bit. I'm distracted a little bit, and I'm trying to put on the white lens and remembering who I am, the purest form, and knowing the environment I'm in. I'm adjusting my lenses constantly. You know, my perceptions of what's happening for me, not to me. It's happening for me. And I know that. So I appreciate what you're saying, Neil. I love how you are presenting this. I love it. I've missed bits and pieces of it here and there, and I'm focusing in more. I'm getting clarity more. I'm getting my white lens on here, getting more focused, and tuning out my environment. And I'm here now. I'm here now.
Amazing. Is that complete? Awesome. Yeah, you shared an important piece, which is it's happening for me. Uh, that's a place of where you're looking from. Because another perception can be that everything is happening to me, and that whatever happens, it's happening to me. And from that lens, from that perspective, I'll call that like a yellow lens. From the yellow lens perspective of everything's happening to me, it's a lens of individualization, and it's a lens of um, potential, like a victim mindset, where it's also a reactionary state where because things are happening to me, I like react. Whereas when you're looking from the lens of things are happening for me, and that when I take a step, it's for me, and that when I don't take a step and then this like crazy person shows up in my life, it's happening for me. Like this crazy person is a gift. Like thank God for this nutso that is happening for me. And when it's happening for me, that's looking from the lens of growth, and it's looking outside of the body and seeing, all right, what in this environment is going to be a contribution to who I am. And so it's looking from a place of how is this thing a contribution, and it's looking from a place of forward growth and expansion. And there, I'm in such a fascinating space right now, and it's a space of um, having jumped off the cliff, having jumped out of the nest, falling through the air, and wings are like nubbins right now. The wings are growing, but I'm still falling, and I actually am flying. It looks like I'm falling, but I've left the nest. Like I'm flying, but I'm flying towards the ground really fast. And at the same time, my wings are growing. And so this is the space I'm in. I'm in this space of like I've taken a step, which is I've taken a step where I've decided that um, who I am is now who I say I am, and who I say I am is who God created for who I am to be, which is a child of God the Father, and it's a multi-dimensional, infinite spiritual being that is expressing through a human vessel. Um, and I've decided this, and because of that, things are showing up to test my decision. And what that's looking like is people, scenarios, situations, conversations showing up that are seeing uh, and drawing out the Neo aspect of who I am, that are drawing out this egoic thing inside of this body that in the past has been super controlling, like very manipulative, and just like really even angry. Um, and so what's happening is since I've made this decision, I've actually taken action on the decision, which I'm not going to get into, but it is maybe I'll get into it. It's highly triggering for a large amount of people. Probably. I'm just gonna leave that there for now. But this it with this decision, it was the first time that I've actually like heard clear communication from God, like clear communication from Source in like 2 years, where I actually heard like a voice where it was like, do this. Um, when the first time I heard that, it was selling my home in Indiana. It was, you're gonna sell your home, and that was it. It was a period. And my ego's like, nope, fuck no. Like I like this home, but so I haven't heard a voice like that in now maybe 2.5 years. Actually, it's more like 3 years. Um, and just recently, in the last 2 months, I've heard it again, and it involved letting something go, and it was a massive part of the identity of who I used to see myself as, and who the Matrix absolutely identifies me as. And the God news is I'm not who the Matrix so uh, consistently identifies me as. I'm not my name in all capital letters. That's my name in all capital letters. And so from a space of being authentic, being true, it what is the authentic and what is the truth that I'm being with, and that authenticity and that truth that I'm being with is the first of all the truth of oneness, and the truth of God being love, and love being the fascia, the connective tissue that's connecting all the facets, all the facets of what, all the facets of everything, and then the authentic expression being expressed, what's called for in the moment, um, based on what love is asking for to be called for in the moment. So it that can involve the ego being expressed. And just today, uh, I was in the company of a theater person who interacts live on stage and generates event and theater production with other people. So it's not just a one person. It's a complete production of five, sometimes to 11 people. So a group of theater producers, but the person I was interacting with was one of those people. And this person can go into character really easily. So he can like literally like be just communicating his normal voice and like switch and be like communicating as like Shrek, like an ogre or something, or be communicating in a like a high pitched voice like a little kid just like really having fun. And this grown man with a beard. So it's really interesting seeing this person going to character. And in the past, I've observed how when these characters have shown up, which are characters from movies, they're characters from books, and they're characters that this person has ate. So by observing, by reading, whatever the thing, those are methods of eating. We're constantly eating information. We don't just eat with our mouth, we eat with our ears, we eat with our eyes, we eat with our skin. We absorb through our skin, so we're eating all the time. And uh, what we're eating is information, and even the food we eat is information. It's so depending on what we eat determines on the information received, the vitamins and minerals received. And so this person has received all these actors and these characters from these stories and is able to become them and articulate them and express them. And in the past, it I have seen it as being a detriment, and with discernment, I can say that it has been detrimental to the true self, the being that is behind these masks, that is looking through the character, seeing the character playing out, but knowing that it isn't the character, and but being so invested in what's going on in the theater or the expression of the character itself that uh, this being kind of like literally left part of its true essence out of the expression because the character was a fabrication of something eaten with in the form of information of an actor or some kind of a book character. And what I observed today was this same person went into character, used that character to channel the true self. So in this character that this person was, the essence of the I am was fully embodied, and it was aligned with his purpose. And the character was a contribution to the conversation and to the situation. And and afterwards, the person embodying the character felt empowered, and the people in the conversation felt empowered. And the only ones that didn't feel empowered were the ones that saw acting as being a detriment and were unable to see the essence of the I am even in the acting. And so the ones who didn't receive value were the ones with resistance to the acting, and then the ones actually receiving value were the ones that can see straight through the acting, seeing the true essence in that person and seeing it coming through in the expression of an embodiment of a character, seeing the character and seeing the divine essence simultaneously, and thus receiving value from the expression. Recently, we've been receiving rain, So here on this property, it's been really dry. And let's say I'm gonna go into the past. So 4 days ago, I anticipated watering in the evening. So I planned my day according to having watering in the evening happen. And what happened was that the watering didn't occur. And it didn't occur because around midday, we started receiving like a really steady, just nice rain. And it was the first rain in probably like a month. And I wasn't expecting it, which was why I had planned to water. And then the day after that, we received rain again. And the day after that, being today, we received rain again. And something switched to where I've been spending hours watering, literally, like around 3 to 4 hours of watering per day. And now, because of all this rain, what has occurred is that it's freed up all this time and this energy. The energy was minuscule, but the time was a thing. And now I have all this time, and what it opened up was an opportunity for introspection and for going within and for actually because when I water, I'm being, and I'm also focusing on a task. But now what happened was um like I was being and not focusing on a task. So the depth of being went deeper because of being unengaged physically. And my point is that when in the past, not even that long in the past, like 2 months ago, I thought that and I still think this to a degree, but I know that it's relative now. So I used to think that when my body's in motion, my mind is quiet, and that when my mind is in motion, basically when my body's still, my mind goes into motion. That's how I used to think. And it was true at the time because there wasn't that much of the day where I wasn't in motion. So when I would not be in motion, all that energy from being in motion was accumulated in my body, which would then stimulate thought. Now, actually taking some time, actually being, actually not doing all the time, and it's doing from being, but regardless, there's physical expression happening, which I'm now finding actually stimulates thought. So, and it stimulates thought because of blood flow increase. And I recognize that how I meditate is relative, and that I can both meditate in motion and I can also meditate in stillness. And eyes closed or open is also irrelevant. Uh, and a practice that I've received from Joe Dispenza is starting in meditation with eyes closed, and then maintaining a feeling in the body, and then opening the eyes, and while continuing maintaining that feeling. Thus going from a closed eye meditation into an open eye meditated space and maintaining it. Um, so this is this space, this natural balance virtual ceremony space is it's a virtual ceremony that's specifically designed to nurture balance and cooperation inside of oneself, and then overflow that out of us into the world all around us. and we don't consciously overflow it. We just consciously go inwards, and then as a byproduct, it overflows out of us. Like balance and cooperation is just a wellspring that just emanates from our being. And this December of 2024, I am hosting a physical ceremony that is located on the Grace 2 property that essentially is a 7-day experience where in the first 5 days it's completely in silence, and during those 5 days we're food fasting, and it starts on December 27th, and it's 2024, and then it overlaps into January 2nd of 2025. And the location is on the Grace 2 property, and it's a rural setting. And in this event, this is a physical natural balance ceremony that is a minimum donation amount of $333 to secure your spot at this event. And the uh, 333 minimum donation is minimum, so you can donate more than that. The value you get out of it is literally based on what you put into it, and so by investing more, you're already valuing the amount that you'll get out of it. And food is provided, sleep is provided, like sleeping accommodations, bathroom accommodations are provided, but it's all rural. Like literally, the only structure right now is a glamping tent, and I envision potentially there'll be other structures by December of this year, but I don't know that. So I'm planning for a rural event, and on the last day of the event, well, not on the last day, but on the end of the fifth day, which is the end of the food fast, we eat fresh organic fruit on January 1st. So it's a going into the new year with a complete reset in the body, in the mind, in the soul, to bring fire within, to bring the fire energy in the body, to radiate and illuminate all our darkness and actually torch through it, so that going into 2025, we're shining brighter than ever. And so this is an event that is occurring this year. And if you're interested, you can email my email directly, which is in the description, and email Natural Balance, and that's what you'll send. You'll literally just type the words Natural Balance, email me that, and we'll talk. And so what I just offered was an opportunity to come to Costa Rica, experience a rural setting, and introspect, and to discover inside of you what's being called for in life coming up, and in the moment. We think when we sit in silence that things are quiet. What I've discovered is that the quieter you get, the subtler sounds become, and that silence is one of the lies that we've been told. Just like darkness is one of the lies we've been told, because you can't shine darkness. Likewise, you can't really shine silence. Darkness is the absence of light. Silence is the absence of noise. And I don't think there is any absence of noise. I think the noise just becomes subtler, to a point where possibly it's just electrons in a cell, but the only constant is change, and change is motion, and motion is sound. Motion can and does produce sound. So I definitely think that silence is an illusion, and So in this rural setting, there's nature sounds everywhere, and I'm literally actually listening to it right now. And because of the setting where I'm at, there's a combination of nature, and there's also a combination of people and vehicle sounds. On this other property, is literally nature sounds for 7 days. And so that's a physical opportunity. That is something that is going inwards, and through going inwards, potentially finding something that we never knew was there before we went inwards. And so that when we actually decide that, hey, you know, maybe maybe I can like stop projecting and start looking within and start like taking taking my conscious attention and focusing it on the parts of my body where I feel stagnation, where I feel condensed energy. This the eyes, like we literally we literally hallucinate the entire reality. The eyes are light sensors that are picking up light information that is going into our skull, that is interpreted in the darkness of our skull, that then projects an image inside of our head of what the world looks like. But we're seeing it inside of our head, and we're calling it seeing, but it's all happening in the head. So we're literally seeing inside of our head. And if we're seeing inside of our head and we change the context of what our eyes are picking up, we change the context of the picture inside of our head. By doing so, we have that's introspection, by the way. That's how you do it. That's how you go inwards. You notice the picture that's being created in the head, and you change the context of what that picture says, specifically what it's saying about the environment, what it's saying about other people, and then what it's saying about Neil as a person. And when I interpret those things of what it's saying about the environment, what it's saying about other people, and what it's saying about Neil as a person, I now have distinguished programs and my truths and perceptions and expectations of what the picture that I'm looking at is supposed to be when I look at it. But what it's supposed to be is coming from something that I've brought from the past and literally recreated in the present moment. And I'm calling that seeing. And what I'm calling seeing is based on what I've seen in the past or from what I've heard in the past. And then I'm calling what I'm seeing, and I'm relating that to words I've heard, and then I'm calling that a picture. Um, yes, and there's that. And then there's additionally, there's looking at the picture, and this is where you get to a letting go of resistance, because when we're seeing the picture and we're calling the picture what it is, we're calling the picture a tree, we're calling the picture a leaf, we're calling the picture a sunset. That's really obvious, right? It looks like a sunset. It's obviously a sunset. Based on what? Based on a word called sunset that has been attached to a picture that we've observed before, but the one we're looking at isn't even like the one before, but we're calling it the same word. And there's an additional space where that bringing the past context into the present moment can be released through letting go of resistance of what is, and what is. And there's no label, identity, uh, thing, statement, program we need to attach to what is. But when we resist what is, we we want to control it, so we want to label it and identify it and put it into a container or a category or some kind of a structure so that it's containable. And it's a resistance to chaos, because if what is just is, how, like, that's pretty chaotic. Like, how do I navigate what is if I don't categorize and identify and label things? And I don't know the answer to that. Who does? Who would like to share?
That's interesting. How do you categorize it when it is what it is? How do are you supposed to categorize it? You know, it would be better if we didn't accept everything as it is, and not do that. That's that's what I'm feeling.
All
That
right.
I've
Well,
been doing. Yeah.
thank you for adding more questions to my question.
Yeah. It just yeah, I've been doing too much of that, trying to categorize everything, and stop doing that. It just let it be that. More observing, what not watching. I'm seeing it for what it is. It's just no label. Just let it be it. And it's been done for you. That's where I'm at. Yeah. Thank you, Neil.
You're welcome. Lewis, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I didn't want to be a distraction by all my movement. I'm getting my walk in, but I love this inquiry and this conversation because, yeah, especially when you start doing medicines, you start seeing that everything is this projection and hallucination. So what is seeing? What is the sun? What is a sunset? All of these are just words that we made up, stories that we tell, little micro stories like van or hair. I mean, yeah, I don't have an answer, but it's really fun to step into the question because it's the inquiry is more real than the answers that we have, in my opinion and belief.
Do you want to share more, or is that complete?
I mean, so there's like getting it on the court, right? We tell these stories like what a relationship needs to look like and how the other person should respond and how much they should invest in order for it to be a relationship or even a friendship. And it was something I wrote recently. It was like, instead of being a dogmatic decree, why not allow our we to be an inquiry? Now I'm complete. Thank you.
You're welcome. Why don't we allow our we to be an inquiry? Because if we was an inquiry, then we, by the existing authorities, would be in chaos. Because if there's no answers for the masses, then the masses are seeking answers, and if the masses are seeking answers, then the leaders are in question, and they can't be in question because they're providing the answers, and so they need to have people with answers, specifically one of those answers being them being in power. And them is actually them being in control. It's actually not power at all. It's the illusion of power. It's a control of perception. And this is where the inquiry is really goes deep into the hearts and the minds of the people collectively right now, where all right, so there's this perception of there's this government, air quotes, and this government is saying what I can and can't do. Man-made law. Divine law is above man-made law, and divine law is also beyond perception and beyond belief, and it's always available, and we choose what we focus on. And this man-made law is it's literally a law that is designed for control, where divine law is literally a law that's designed for expression of God's will. And what that looks like is your difference, and it's your gift, and it's literally divine coming through you as an expression of the whole, not being the whole, but coming from the whole, as a piece of the full picture. And that being the contribution that, first of all, makes a difference in my life, and then second of all, literally makes a difference in the lives of the people around me. And if I'm positively affecting the lives of the people around me, that is a wave and a ripple that is exponential, that can lead to chaos and the loss of control of the perceived government. And so perception here, and maintaining perception of what collective thinks, is how this hallucination of reality has even a single leg to stand on. All right, go ahead, Lewis.
Yeah, so there's two things. There's one, which is if we allow ourselves, or any part of our world really, because that's where the seed gets planted, it starts with an inquiry, where once we had an answer, if instead we have an inquiry, then eventually we will become the inquiry to ourselves, and then we're a threat to the illusion or the delusion of everything. So I get that, and I love that, which means an inquiry is always a revolutionary and a radical act. Vive la revolution. And then the other piece is I was just remembering a metaphor from St. Thomas Aquinas about divine law. He's like, all right, we're on a mountain, and God put a fence on the mountain so that you don't fall off the mountain and die. if you cross that fence, you will suffer. It's like Charlton Heston, he said, you can't break the 10 Commandments. You can only break against the 10 Commandments. It's you that's breaking when you lie or cheat or steal or whatever. So that's really like such a more powerful place to stand, because you really do have more freedom. You have freedom to thrive rather than just survive or die if you're obeying divine law. So thank you.
You're welcome. Divine law is the source. Natural balance is the unique expression of divine law. It's showing up differently for every person, and it's showing up differently because of the person it's coming through, but it's always there. Our resistance to divine law is what has us being man-made law, and our accepting of man-made law is what has us have capacity to step into divine law. So we don't receive divine law by resistance. We receive divine law by acceptance of what currently is, and then acknowledging that what currently is is a control mechanism, and recognizing that that control mechanism isn't for like literally God's best interest. It's actually in the interest of the individualized portion, which isn't the whole picture. And the whole picture I'm calling God. So if it's a part, it's like it is that's what man-made law is. And then divine law is the whole picture, and it's the thing that is it's an access to freedom, it's an access to peace, it's an access to not knowing because of actually being in an inquiry. But while being in that inquiry, there's an innate knowing of oneness. So it where the place where it's coming from is from a place of oneness. And divine law is the fruits of it are always observable, even within man-made law constructs, because of it being above man-made law. And so a person in man-made law still has divine law affect them. And because of that, regardless of if you're aware of it or not, you're being affected by divine law. And so by becoming aware that you're being affected by it and then consciously learning it, there is capacity to cooperate and be in harmony and like grow with it and as it and grow in it. And that's complete. We have 8 minutes left. This is a space for making offers. The Natural Balance Masterclass virtual ceremonies are being uploaded to YouTube. So is there anyone here who would like to make an offer? And are you to choose to make an offer, you have 3 minutes to make your offer. So it's concise, neat, but it is available for the world to see, and will be for the world to see for an indefinite period of time. So is there anybody here who's feeling called, like you've got this gift that you would like to share and put out there? And that's and what I just made was an opportunity, but it was an offer to make an offer. Lewis, go ahead.
So I'm just gonna check in to see what offer I'm supposed to make because I got a lot.
Yeah, and just whatever the offer is that you decide, like I'm inspired to hear it, and I'm inspired for you to open up your heart and to give it a go, and not care about how it lands, but actually just rest in the comfort and the relaxation in the knowing that you've taken the initiative, and that's what's important.
Yeah, that's so great because I've had so many sales calls today where I didn't make offers. I just added more value. So my offer is 6 weeks to creating your first high ticket coaching clients. It's called the Wealth Dynamics Accelerator. We have one-on-one calls and a huge library of badass content from which I've selected some really powerful trainings on opening your nervous system to channels of abundance flowing through, getting clear on the structure to build like a rain gutter so that wealth can flow to you, and yeah, knowing who you are, how you serve, who you serve, and doing that in a way that sets you up to actually have consistency of income long term, to $5, $10, $15,000 months. I've even had people get 30K months. The offer is $3,000 paid up front in full, preferably via Zelle, which is my it's an app. And yeah, what you get access to is a one-man army in service of you and your vision and your values and your mission and your message getting out there into the world. And yeah, I mean, I could talk more about people who have worked with me, who have gone from $0 in income to paying all their bills, like Alina Lupez from Romania, or Olivia Herzog, who's a raw vegan coach who went from it was like $3,000 or $4,000 per month to about 10 inside of the 6-week accelerator. But instead of sharing to impress upon you what's possible, I'll just say, if anybody's interested, direct message me and we can have a conversation. That's it.
Amazing. So Lewis, your information is going to be in the description. And will that be your direct phone number or your email, or how do they direct message you?
Oh yeah, do you want me to put that information in the chat? Or
I would prefer you direct message me with it.
oh, okay.
Like
Yeah.
not in the chat.
On
And then
Signal?
I'm going to add it in the description of the video.
Oh, okay. Do you want that through Signal?
Yes, please.
All right. I'll make sure it gets sent over. I'm going to go off camera just to start typing it, just so I can do it while I'm thinking of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. So there you go. Natural balance flowing through Annette, flowing through Lewis, flowing through Neil. It's how can it flow through these different bodies? Through an intelligence of organic nature and organic creator, that is infinite and that has capacity to individuate itself, to experience its parts, and then reorganize into the wholeness that it is. But even in the individuation, each one of those parts, because of their source of where they're coming from, have capacity to remember oneness as the part. And then also those same parts have the potential to experience oneness, and experience is to first of all be seeing oneness. So literally through using your eyes, generating in a picture inside of your brain, in the darkness of your skull, a picture of oneness, of the complete picture, while simultaneously in the body having the feeling of being connected to everything, infinite connection. And this is available, and I believe this is what we're, as a collective humanity, stepping into, which is a culmination of all the parts, which doesn't require the parts being together because they're already together. It only requires the perception to change to see that the parts were never separated, and it was only the perception that was creating the separation. And through the changing of the perception into the remembering of oneness, oneness is naturally present. So this is the completion of Natural Balance Masterclass. Natural balance is of an infinite nature, and it stops never, and it starts when you focus on it. And when this camera turns off, what are you focusing on? And with that, good night.